In this video, we're going to talk about drawing more realistic eyes. It is helpful when drawing eyes to look at a picture either from a magazine or on your phone. Depending on the person, the shape of their eyes, their facial expression, and if they're wearing makeup, their eyes are going to look a little bit different than someone else's. You can also see that even in these magazine cutouts, no two eyes are the exact same shape or size. I'm going to use this picture for my photo reference when drawing today. I like this one because the eyes are looking straight on and have no makeup, so it's a more natural look. We're going to talk about the shape of eyes right now. A lot of students will start by drawing just a big circle for the eyes. While your eye technically is a circle, you don't see the full eyeball when you're looking at a face. Oftentimes, students will draw much more stylized eyes. Sometimes, we draw more blocky eyes to match something we've seen in an anime or a comic book. Other times, we try to draw really large eyes that we see in Disney movies. While these are all different ways to draw eyes, they are more cartoony or things that you see in anime. Today, we want to focus on drawing more realistic eyes. If you look at the shape of a human eye, in general, it's going to be more of an almond or an oval shape. So that's what we're going to use to start when drawing our eyes today. Looking closer at this image, we can see that the bottom of the eye isn't perfectly round. I'm going to start by drawing what I can see on the top part of the eye, which is more of a curve, and then trying to mimic the shape of the bottom lid. It curves out towards the center of the eye, but then it ducks back in towards the inner eye. Including the inner part of the eye is going to make your drawing look more realistic. Because your eyeball is a circle, we are going to see the edges of the eye within the socket. I'm dashing in a light line just to show you what the general shape of the eye is inside. But because we have eyelids, you won't see that full round shape. Looking back and forth between my drawing and the image, I'm going to add in the iris. Just like the eyeball, you're not going to see the full circle. And then I'm going to add in the pupil, or the very dark part of the eye. This image does have a highlight, so I'm going to add that in, and then I'm going to color in the pupil. Now, let's talk about some shading. If you look at the image, you can see the crease of the eyelid, and it's pretty dark right where that crease hits. Drawing realistic eyes is all about using shading to create the shape. I've added in a little bit of shading along that crease and blended it out with my finger. If you look along the bottom of the eyelid, you can see a highlight. I'm going in and leaving a little room, but adding in shading to show that darker part underneath the eye. Unless the person that you are drawing is wearing eyeliner or heavy makeup, you don't want to draw a dark line to define the eyelid. Instead, you want to use shading to blend out the values and make the eye look more natural. You can take your eraser back in to add in the highlight. I like to use my blending stump just to smooth out the edges and make the line less harsh. Depending on the skin tone of the person you are drawing, you may need to add more shading around the eye to get the correct values. Because of the expression of the guy's face in my photo, the eyebrows are a little less natural looking. Normally, your eyebrow would start towards the inner corner of your eye and extend past the outer corner, arching over. However, In this image, the eyebrow goes up at a more severe angle. It also starts closer to the eye because of his expression. I always look back and forth between my drawing and the image. I'm trying to block in the general shape of the eyebrow using basic lines so that I can go in and add a base layer of shading. And now is also a great time to talk about eyelashes. Whether you're drawing a masculine or a feminine portrait, everyone has eyelashes. For more masculine portraits, the eyelashes will be less defined, but they will still be there. You can use your pencil to match up the angles of the eyelashes in your image to your drawing. Eyelashes shouldn't be drawn straight, but rather curve a little bit at the end. As you're looking at your portrait, you can go in and add wrinkles and lines, moles, and different features that you see on the face. I'm going to go back and kind of touch up the eyebrow. Using my blending stump, I'm going to blend out the area below the eyebrow because it is darker. I'm going to blend out some of those lines I drew. Then I'm going to blend in the shading that I had started. And unlike with regular hair, for eyebrows, I like to go in and add a lot of little, quick, short pencil strokes to show the individual hairs. The shading underneath will help fill it in, and the darker strokes will show the texture of the eyebrow. Now that I have some of the space around the eye done, I'm going to go in and work on the actual eyeball. The iris, or the colored part of your eye, can be shaded using pencil, or if you're doing a work in color, it can be shaded using color. In this image, the color of the iris is darker towards the outer edge and fades to be lighter towards the pupil. I'm darkening up the pupil since I've gone in and added shading and the values matched up too closely. I'm also blending out the line around the highlight so it appears more natural. If you look closely at the iris, you'll see that a lot of times there are lines or darker parts of color within the actual circle. I went in and added those in, and I'm adding in the shading at the top of the iris. Because your eye is round, you'll want to go in and add some shading in the whites of the eye. This is usually around the edges closer to the corners. Oftentimes this is very light, but it is there, so you want to include it to make the eye more realistic. The corners of the eye are usually darker. I like to scribble in the corners with my pencil and then blend it to make it more realistic. Looking at the image that I've chosen to reference, I can see that there is a darker line along the top eyelid. Again, you don't want it to look like they're wearing makeup if they're not, but you also want to make sure you're matching the values. If you work on adding in the right details and shading, your eyes will start to look more realistic. Remember, drawing is a skill and we need to practice, but with practice, you'll get better. Happy drawing!